And we're back. Welcome back, everyone, to game number 2. Auzom Premier League, EU, lobby number 1. Cameron Davis, Moses, Skyline on the observatory. Yeah.
How are you? Game number 1.
Good transition. Good transition. Intense. I'm good at my job.
You know what? The end there in the military base was super intense, and also interesting to see how teams, utilizing vehicles, utilizing everything available to just try and stay in cover. But ultimately, we came to FaZe and Vitality, the two powerhouse teams in this lobby. You know, among a field filled with talent, rising above time and time again, but always seeming to be near each other. So a bit of a rivalry developing, I would say, if not fully entrenched at this point, as we see this plane path coming through the left and center of the map. A lot of options for landing in this early game, so we'll see how teams shake out. But Cam, the relentless FaZe never stops moving. They're always, as a group, they're always taking any available fight. They react immediately. How do you deal with a team that is always on their toes and always pushing the pace?
You have to land your shots on them in return, but we saw just how difficult that was. The Knights were the first ones up on the bat, and they took way too much damage than you would even expect, considering FaZe's position and how early into the game that we were. That just shows you the strength of FaZe's roster and their plan, their strategy, how they play this game works so well. And that's one of the multiple reasons why they are at the top and in contesting for, like, they're at the top. There's really no way to argue that number 1 is either them or Vitality. The real argument is on which one, but they're definitely in the top 2.
Absolutely. I mean, between FaZe and Vitality, at least in the European arena, I would say that they are 1 and 1A as far as their consistency is concerned. Vitality always seeming to find a way into the top 5, either through precise movement or tight transitions or pure skill, whereas we are headed again to the military base. So we will have a very similar circle to game number 1, except Nova will not be in play. So we'll see now. Will we be able to run this game back? I like sometimes from time to time when the circles, replicate each other, but that's only to see. Now that we've seen one game play out with all these same teams with the same circle, will it unfold in a similar fashion? Will Vitality opt to skip Milta and go straight to the military base? Will Method come from Pachinki early? So we'll see now how they react to similar circumstances, Cam. But yeah, right now it seems that the loot phase is fully underway. If you're Vitality in that situation, going for that res, is there a situation in your mind that you just try and throw grenades, get utility, throw the, that's the one thing that I think was missing from that little sequence.
Yeah.
No more nades came out, and it was just a 1v1 push, essentially. But at this point, you can't really nitpick because the game went the way it went. But would you be a little bit more safe if you're FaZe, try and get some grenades in there, or was it just a matter of seizing the opportunity?
Once they got that first drop at that final drop in the end, you mean?
Yeah, exactly.
You want to push that. They got the down, and even if I forget which of the two from Vitality was still standing, but even if that individual was still standing and trying to take the fight, that's still a 1v2 in your favor. And if he was trying to go for the res, that's essentially a 1v0 in that little corner once you peek around the side. So there's no way that doesn't go in your favor no matter what decision the other team makes. They made the absolute 100% correct decision once they got that drop to have that push on both sides. They weren't coming from the same sides to be a potential lineup spray down. They were coming from multiple sides for a crossfire, and there was honestly, once they got that drop, there was no way that Vitality was going to win that once he went behind to go for that res. If he attempted to get a trade knock right off the start and then make it a 1v1, there could have been a chance, but once you went back around that corner, I don't see how there's any way it could have played out otherwise.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And really looking at the way Vitality played that, you got to wonder if the last man standing and the circle about to close, does that play in? Is that something that you think about when you have an up to an, I think it's 10-second cast right on the res, but it's a situation where you kind of have to determine, am I gonna put myself with my back against a closing final circle that will kill me immediately, or at least my down teammate, or do I face the onslaught of two pressing phase players? I think that they made the right decision, but or at least the decision that could have been 50-50. The res was successful, but didn't leave them any time to maneuver afterwards.
Yeah.
We will see Method running it back, headed up the mountainside, seeing if they can maintain that vision that served them so well in the early game last time. However, Method, they didn't have a nice transition across from here next time. I think maybe learning a bit of a lesson here. Andy taking away that garage building that was held by Exalt last time that kind of led to their demise.
Yeah, they're
actually see here. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
No, just a Method. You know, they're doing the early transition again. I think this time they're even earlier because they really wish that they had that building. Andy's going there by himself. They're doing a 3-1 split, which we've seen be a little controversial at times, I guess you could say, or it's risky at times because if Andy gets pushed by himself, depending on the sightlines that his teammates have on the hill above him. Let's look over here though, because Zoktinam, a team that weren't very successful, I believe they went out second to last. They're in a little bit of a fight. They're able to chase down Razmaki from Vexed. Mikaz, not Razmaki. Mikaz does find a vehicle and able to take his way out of there right when the backup from Zoktinam arrives. So Mikaz may have just barely been able to find some means of escape.
Yeah, we'll see here. I don't know if we're going to see some of the same early transitions that we saw from everyone. Penta landing a little bit further north. I think they still were in the Razak area. Alliance early across this time around. They were late to the zone last time as well. So we'll see here Method engaging with Razmiki just down in front of him at the next group of buildings. I don't think Razmiki has any incentive to push out just yet, so he will tuck back into the vehicle or into the compound there. You see a vehicle with a crate next to it. I think they might have lost one already. So LFO transitioning as well. Leighton putting pressure on everyone around him. That AK spray down not landing. So we'll see here Method being aggressive and active in the early game, trying to harass everyone that comes near them. But Leighton is split out from his team.
Yeah, this is bad. It looks like he was actually pushed away. There's a transition down to the garage building onto Andy. Looks like there's another team, I believe, that's actually Alliance that came in to take up the spot that was once held by them. Looking over here, though, it is going to be Noxious Crispier specifically trying to take some shots on FCERs. Ooh, actually, I thought he was out, but landed one nice shot. That must have been to the dome. And then one more to the chest is enough to drop him. And I don't know if there's anyone from FCE around to get the revive, especially because, well, that's the full kill going to be coming through from Crisper. So FCE going to have to find a different way through, but now it looks like Penta are the next one. Next one's up to bat against this bridge camp. Are they going to the bridge or going to the water? I think they're going to the bridge. Or are they stopping on the hill? Looking for the camp. Yeah, Simsy actually spots out Crisper. Sends some shots. There's a lot of windows on that building, which is one of the biggest weaknesses of it. Crisper, he's actually just going to jump out. Doesn't want to take this fight. Maybe pop into the bike that we saw in the corner. Make his own way out. But Andy, actually, in military base, gets dropped by Rogue.
Yeah, we see here Penta actually stopping and decided to take this fight with Crispier. And now Rogue, having taken up in their previous building, Crispier actually looking at Penta as they approach, putting some pressure there. Penta pressing as 3, trying to rotate around and get an angle here. This hill will allow them to get all the way up on top of this building. There are 2 here. I'm not sure if they're going to start gathering info using their vehicles. Ultra there, Simsy there as well. They do have Zokta Nam actually approaching as well from the north there. So they are engaged in essentially a 2-way fight. Zokta and Nam easier to engage considering their open position, as Bruder just desperately trying to get through the woods here. The uncharged charging in behind him, and he will go down. So that's 1 down and out for Zokta and Nam here. They did have a successful first game, I believe, last week, but right now Zokta and Nam is just having trouble transitioning from their loot spot into this first zone, losing one here early. And Penta harassing all around them, is going to try and crash this building, or at least get to the shack. But unfortunately, Mini Fridge was waiting, pressed outside from the garage, and took down Simsy on his transition. So that crash unsuccessful, and looks like Penta is going to try and cover Simsy as Tamil puts pressure on a Crispier in that top window. Mini Fridge Jr. there to support as well. Cam, do you try and get this res?
No. Absolutely not. I
You're
don't
dead.
exactly...
Sorry, teammate. You're dead. You had your chance.
Yeah, I don't exactly know why he made the bomb. They may have not seen Crispier's teammates arrive and thinking that it was going to be only one person holding that building. But turns out there were actually a full 3 people in that compound at this point. And when you have that many people, it's definitely a good position to put one of them on the side, like they did with Mini Fridge Jr. to get that spray down. And now it's going to be a 3 versus 3 at this point. And Penta, do they want to keep... The real question right now for Penta is, do they want to stick on this fight, or do they want to maybe take the early swim to eventually make their way across the military base?
My thinking, looking at the way that fight played out, is that Simsy wanted to essentially establish a foothold in that compound. Now, we saw this in a game last week with a North American team trying to displace a well-entrenched, compound-laden enemy. And they were unable to do so. They were able to do so, rather, by essentially getting a can opener maneuver into one of the buildings on that compound. So with Simsy going in there to try and establish that foothold, that essentially allows them to put pressure on them from close and far. And Crispier would then have to decide whether he wants to deal with the immediate threat right below him or maintain line of sight on the rest of Penta, which would allow them to move up or at least continue to apply pressure. So that's kind of the thinking I believe that Simsy had, or that any team would have when trying to displace a team in a compound. As we move now over to Knights in their own compound, holding a choke point against Vitality on this bridge. We'll see if they can maintain that position. Voxic with that 8x and Scar, and Vitality trying to find a seam to get across here underneath the bridge.
Ooh, Drayden was able to make it past. It actually looks like Vitality... Did they take the dive over into the water? Because for a second it looked like that. Because Drayden, I don't know how he was able to make it past if they were actually on that bridge. But okay, no. Don't know if that was in the water or not. They would make it way across. Okay, you know, we don't know exactly how. Wasn't able to figure it out while watching. But they're all in one vehicle, which we can, as we all know, is really, really risky at times.
Well, it's risky all the time. One bad transition through a team that you don't see, and next thing you know, they all go down at once. It looks like Rogue.
Yeah.
Fills up with an AWM here.
Yeah,
so
he's been popping heads actually this whole time. He's kind of been there sprinkling in on the kill feed while we were watching fights elsewhere along the map. So we didn't see Rogue do too much from this position, if I'm not mistaken, but having an AWM on their side, ooh, they could actually be doing a lot more this game.
I am filled down with no one to help right now, and Rogue using this opportunity to leave their initial compound and get into the military base proper. Let's take a look at how this circle has shaken out. So they are moving into the base. I am filled down. We will have a centered circle, so most of the water, the channel still in, leaving some options. Actually, that circle leaves some options for teams to cross without having to utilize the bridge. As we see Gustav Trifoli forming up at the eastern bridge. Meanwhile, Sane crashing right on top of LFO, I believe, and Sane getting tangled up in that UAZ. They do a little dance and down he goes. So I don't know if that was an intentional crash or just circumstance, but can't help his teammate right now, as LFO has got all sorts of pressure onto Purge, and there he goes. Kaint goes down, and that might be it for them. So yep. That's a tough one right there.
That's LFO out first. Very rough sound. We've seen any team in that little valley dip at the South Ridge not have a very, very successful time, no matter who it is. It's helpful because you actually have a wide stretch of land to use, but the cover isn't the greatest, no matter from which angle you're looking at. Rogue, though, they're actually taking Vitality's previous position. They saw just how powerful it was. Vitality going to be more towards the east side. Seeing multiple teams still transition through, and actually a team is camping TSM. This is fun. Multiple teams actually.
Well, it's Lumber Mill, and it looks. I think it's Exalt. Some members from Exalt have break tied up here. So right now TSM is stuck outside the zone. They have 2 teams pressuring them. Break trying to get some vision across to where Lumber Mill is, preventing any transition right now. They are holding on to it. AMPR actually takes down Gustav, so that'll allow some time and space. Gustav down and essentially out now because his team is nowhere near to help him. They're at the gas station. The gas station, a terrific choke point, but once you come outside that wall, you lose all ability to defend yourself. You have to fully commit. So TSM is split. That is something that I actually talked to Break about just over Twitter DMs. I asked him if this is intentional. It is. They do try and maintain these splits for vision, But right now, I'm not sure if it's serving them well, Cam.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a really difficult situation, I think, for a lot of these teams right now, because at what point do you have to question if, oh, okay, actually, we were camping them, but now suddenly we can't move because, like you were saying about the gas station. At the same time, TSM are almost camping them, but Vis does spots out the two from Exalt Gaming, lands some really nice shots and gets the full down as well. Not allowed the play zone to take that. Can get another one on Chronix. Chronix behind the tree, trying to heal up to continue to run through. Breaks go, though. He's not getting revived. There's no point in that. But Chronix now, I don't think he has a vehicle nearby. So it's going to be rough for him to try and get into the zone, whether or not TSM are there at this point.
Popping the smoke, giving himself some opportunity to move, but there is nothing but fields around him as Rory is pushing all the way up to try and secure this kill. Chronix having to move backwards. This is not good for anybody, to be clear. This is not a good situation. This is not a winning situation for anyone in this spot right now. They're using their meds. They're plinking away. They're taking damage. It's not a good situation here for TSM. Rory with that level 1 vest, if he takes any level of damage from Chronix, even if he wins the trade, it's going to be a problem for him later as he's putting pressure down onto Chronix, just throwing grenades, trying to finish this off. So you got to wonder, is this going to be worth it in the end for TSM?
Absolutely not, but this wasn't a decision that they made. It was a decision made for them by these other teams, and the reason why you see Rory pushing Chronix, if I'm not mistaken, is because they don't want to get backstabbed and they have to take him out. In the meantime, though, APR did get taken out by Wookie Bookie, the other team just to the south of them. And so TSM, they can't be feeling comfortable at this point. They have to take a move, but these players still here. And the thing is, I don't think any of these, I think these players here still have either paths into the zone or teammates already in the zone. So they're not full, the team isn't full committed. TSM is the only squad out here that is fully committed in. And so this is a lot of trouble for them. No matter, even if they're able to finally make their way out, they'd be taking a lot of damage, a lot of med usage. You can see Vis is already down to, I mean, it's still 4 first aid kits.
Well,
but considering how TSM play,
these are things that they need. Yeah, this is meds that they're going to desperately need, and there's a very real chance, depending on how Wookie Bookie and the rest of Lumbermill decide to play this. Wookie Bookie's still holding on the edge of the zone. He knows there's more to come. He's already killed AMPR. He has not seen anyone else coming just yet. He's looking at the coast to see if they're going to try and swim. That vehicle is going to be making some noise here, so Wookie Bookie is in a position to pop up on this ridge. TSM is all in one vehicle, and he's going to do just that. He's waiting for them to come. He can hear the vehicle. This could be disastrous. About to breach. Is he going to look the right? He's looking the wrong way. TSM might slip right past him. He switches to the red dot, waiting for it, and he will allow them to drive right on by. TSM dodging a literal and figurative bullet there, getting across, but the woes are not over just yet, as they're going to be taking lots of damage here in this zone. It looks like there was one left behind for TSM as well. Looking at the zone, we will stay relatively centered, break the last man across for TSM, but even Zokten, Nam, and a few other teams are still held outside the zone. There's a real possibility that some of these people die to the zone, Cam.
Yeah, absolutely, because the second circle is moving, or sorry, third at this point, is still moving in. I mean, once it closes in, it's the uptick of damage is only going to be even worse. Firespace here holding point on the edge of the circle, dodges the vehicle thrown at him, and gets a full-on kill. Stab, though, making his way down the cliff side. He's going to be alive for now, and so at least Lumbermill have one more inside the circle. I believe it's just Stab and Wookie Bookie left, and Wookie Bookie, as we just saw previously, was still outside having to make his own way in, but at least Stab can maybe find a little cubby to hold himself in and try and outlast until later in the game. Minifridge now, actually on a bike, able to make his way through multiple beams of light on the mini-map, but he does get dropped. There we go, Voxic does finally find that shot. And this is essentially what we saw from the previous game, unsurprisingly. Just once the circle is going in on the military base, people trying to bomb in, but the team's already here. Oh! Jazz are trying to take some shots, but instead he takes a little bit of damage in return from the Knights.
Yeah, it looks like FaZe is transitioning in vehicles, but Rogue has taken the dominant position in the barrels that we saw Vitality holding last game. So Mr. TV, Tunican trying to retrace the steps of their downed compatriot here as we see Noxious trying to breach through the fence, trying to aim, trying to get through there without crashing, and not quite making it through there. Mr. TV not threading the needle quite cleanly, but does make it through unscathed so far. The Knights have taken up on the hill. Alliance sharing the jail and the barracks area with the remnants of Noxious Gaming. Wookie Bookie taking down Cup of Magic elsewhere on your screen. So it's Exalt. Looks like they're sadly standing still, and Wookie Bookie still outside the zone, still doing damage. He's on his way. He's picked up 2 more kills. So Wookie Bookie using his effectiveness to maximum effect. Wow, butchered that. But regardless, Wookie Bookie on the way in, and we see Penta tied up here with Razmiki and company.
Yeah, it's a really bad situation for them. Tommy already got it down. They use the smokes to maybe get the revive, but we see that there's a couple of helmets already missing from one of them. They actually already taken a casualty from earlier into the game. Razmiki gets fully taken up by a nade elsewhere, but it's only just Mikaz and well, no, there's 3 people here on the edge, but it's actually Penta that's holding them back, because Penta the one's closest to the zone.
So they're unfortunate for Wookie Bookie, picked up by TSM, who's made it into the military base. And, you know, going back to what you're just saying, Cam, Penta holding out one team, Vitality transitioning to the air traffic control tower via vehicle, Monkey, and it looks like they're going to be headed to the plains now. So this will be a make or break transition for Vitality. Rogue is there already at the plains, moved across. Moving right on top of Stab. Stab inclined to just stop. Will he pop? Will he drop any of Vitality here as they get across? Not so for Stab. But Penta still harassing as I Am Larry and the rest of his squad get away. FaZe taking up the southern compound. And we have very little compound cover left. Only the fence and a few other spots here. Vitality taking natural cover, Cam. We'll see if FaZe and Vitality meet again. Yeah, we'll see if they meet again here in the endgame.
Yeah, Vitality, we've seen time and time again, or at least I've been able to observe from my perspective, that they really like playing on hills because it allows them to take a lot of shots out at any team coming in. And so right now you can look at their position in the zone. This is their prime. This is a power spot for them. FaZe, though, are able to spot them out. We saw a couple of shots traded out onto them, so we see we can't do too much damage. Actually, not a lot of cover. You see that's just a valley directly from that compound onto them. So this UAZ is going to be putting in a lot of work. But in the meantime, let's see if Vitality can't catch out an open transitioning Penta. No cover for these 3 players trying to make their way through. Luxno, not even a red dot on the car 98, wants to wait to get that lineup.
Why aren't they
on
shooting?
The shot. I don't know.
There we go. I was like, what's happening? Why isn't this starting?
Yeah, okay.
So it looks like actually for Penta, they're going to be stuck in line with Vitality, who's already transitioning around in vehicles. Method there right in the center. 8C chilling in that little house. Has the ability to put pressure onto both teams as Monkey is just flailing around on the motorcycle. Looks like they're going to back it off into these rocks. That's the best possible natural cover they can find. But now the woes begin for Penta as Method and Vitality are shooting right at them as they were transitioning in the open. Only Ultra left standing and with very few options, Cam.
Yeah, he is prone behind the tree, so it looks like he is going to be able to stay alive for now. But it's only going to get worse for him because he is on the very edge of this zone. So once the blue closes in, it's likely going to be swinging at least marginally off of him. A couple of teams still in the military base itself, and if they have to make the transition out, it's going to be a little difficult for them, which is one reason why we saw Vitality make the instant dive outside, because they want out of all that nonsense that comes with being in a more, I guess you could call it a city. Not exactly.
Well, it's a coin flip too, Cam, because if you see the circle the way it's set up now, it could go north or south as Rogue begins to engage with Alliance. Alliance, you know, having to deal with these shots coming from Rogue, who are at the plane in front of them. Meter already going down. This res should be able to get off, but if it goes north, it's going to be a very tough transition for teams like FaZe and everyone at the southern end of the circle. But the circle does tend to adjust large groups of buildings. And the military base is just that. So we'll see if these southern teams get lucky or if the circle takes another victim. Or several.
Andy, yeah, probably several. Andy thinks he has a little bit of an angle on a Vitality. It's actually going to be Mikaz that does get the finishing kill on another one of those players. So Vitality now down to 2. It's only Shiv and Monkey alive at this point. Hiding in smoke, and looks like their both transitions, weren't able to find anything as comfortable as they hoped. And well, it moved away from most of the buildings, but now we're gonna have a plain ending. Or at least it was likely to be a plain ending, and this is interesting because I haven't seen something like this. It's probably gonna look a lot like what we saw the ending of last game, except, well, even more chaotic, because planes hardly count as cover with all the curves and the angled the wings and.
Yeah, you can shoot at feet. You can see under them, as we see here. Jazz kind of showing us. They are not they're static cover, but they're not predictable or uniform. So we see, looks like Mixie is going to be the one to try and get in first, leaving his team behind, trying to crash onto the fence here. It looks like that's going to be the only option they have. Mixie is going to land right next to Stab, so we'll see if Stab can be able to do anything. He landed in front with Mixie, and Mixie is going to be able to not return fire directly, so Mixie will go down here. This is a difficult situation for FaZe. At the very least, they are very far from the zone, as is our Team Vex down there. So we will see at the fence if TSM will be able to get anything set up, but they have to break away as they receive fire immediately. So the fence is going to be very viable cover if they can get there, and TSM will be able to land relatively safe. But Rogue playing gatekeeper along this edge. FaZe already losing one, Rari going down, so TSM will lose one as well, and this is a hectic transition camp.
Yeah, TSM now down 2, and I think we also saw Vitality go out as well. Foley, I believe, in 12th place, which is never a scoreline that we expect to see from this team, especially not coming after a number 2 finish. But looking to the rest of the game, Niels gets taken out, 11th team out by Andy. Method right now, they had a very struggle. They had a big struggle in the first game, but right now they're able to find a foothold in this compound. But Leighton is going to have to be the one to usher them all in, because their compound is now finally taken out of the zone. Ultra from Penta trying to make his own little run, crouching down, hoping he doesn't get spotted because the blue is right his back, and we saw how much damage he was able to take. But all these smokes here in this valley,
it's gonna be
TSM and Method, smokes and grenades being thrown out by both sides, and Andy gets dropped by Break. Continual nades afterwards don't find their mark, and Method's nades in return didn't seem to go far enough to hit TSM back.
The fan favorite Method and the fan favorite TSM engaging here. We will see the Knights playing spoiler to that 2v2 as they take down Leighton as well as AC. So Method, just like that, while making it to the fence, are eliminated. Fuzzface and I think that, I'm not sure who's left, it might have been Hacks there, are still with FaZe. But we do see Rogue now intermingled to an, well, they were intermingled there shortly there, but it's actually the Knights and Alliance battling on the edge of the zone. So we'll see the Knights trying to get an angle onto Alliance, but they are returning fire. Drayden going down to VZ. Stab at the edge of the fence all by himself, and Rogue right now 4 strong in the zone with the circle, in great position here to take control of this end game as the Knights and Alliance plink away at each other, and the remnants of the damaged teams holding on to the edges.
Yeah, Rogue, they do have one of their players dropped down right now that could potentially revive on that, but in the meantime, let's look at this fight between Alliance and Knights. These teams, whoever wins this wants to win it fast, because it's going to be a long, difficult transition into the zone, no matter how many people they have left alive. But a couple of knocks onto Knights puts Alliance in the immediate advantage. But unlike other times we've seen knocks in previous fights, there's no avenue for a full push onto them just because of the distance between the two squads is too great.
Not to mention the fact that Rogue is just right in the middle there.
Yes.
They can't. I don't think they're going to go for a res here on Jazz. They don't want to try and risk that transition. You see Alliance just trying to find a way in here, but ultimately the zone now being the biggest enemy to both of these teams, as the Knights are going to have to jump on vehicles, and this is terrifying for them as they immediately start receiving fire from all angles. They should be able to get to the planes. Looks like they might get across, but they are still not in the zone. Stab and TSM there as well, actually on the fence. Looks like they're going to pop up and try and steal some kills. Knights up on the wing there, having to jump off, and it actually lands right on top of Nayu. So last remaining member of LFO will go down, and ultimately it's going to be Rogue just playing gatekeepers. But nice transition, and Alliance now left out in the cold with only the circle at their back.
Yeah, no, actually Knights, that is a really good transition from them. They went in like a 1-by-1 turn, but able to find their way 3 in the zone and 1 just holding their back. But right now it is going to be Rogue, still 4 strong, taking shots at Alliance. Alliance, on the other hand, they tried to use smokes to be able to cross their way into the zone, and it's not working out so well for them. All 4 get sprayed down from mostly Rogue, but a little help from Knights. Okay, no, Fever still. Okay, now he's down. All right. Mostly Rogue, a little help from the Knights, and now Knights are still 4 strong too. So we thought it was going to be a problem for both of those teams in the north, but Knights are able to find their own way in, and this is going to look good for them. YNCK dropping on Hexede should leave only Fuzzface alive, but Fuzzface, well, he hasn't been spotted, but his bike has. So Rogue may suspect someone's behind that tree.
He is in the zone. We will see if this will stay on the plains or transition across the fence. So Rogue and Knights now engage directly. TSM sneakily hanging on as well. So we'll see what effort these 1- and 2-man squads can mount here. So I don't know if Knights want to press directly. The circle has transitioned onto the plains, essentially favoring Knights, but they are not in just yet. So it's going to be Rogue maybe pushing along the fence line to try and get on top of Knights, or at least to get into that zone. And now TSM unfortunately has been spotted out. Break, the last man standing, crawls backwards to try and avoid the grenade, but it's ultimately going to be the Knights picking up the kills onto them. So now Penta, Fuzzface, or sorry, it's going to be Ultra, Fuzzface versus the Knights and Rogue. Rogue 4 strong here, Cam. What's the game plan?
I like this. They're doing a 2-2 split. 2 here on the chest high wall and 2 still in the plains to try and take control as much as they can. They are going to need to worry, or at least I'm worrying for them about Fuzzface. Could be taking dealing damage to them from behind, but I don't expect Fuzzface to be doing too much more because his transition into the zone is going to be way too difficult. And even if he deals a little bit of damage to Rogue, they're going to do a clean 180 onto him. But that damage may be enough to allow Knights to take the win here. Knights, you're right, they are closer, but they haven't been able to find a foothold in the zone just yet. Instead, right now, they're spraying down the 2 players in that ridge on the side. Drayden making the push now ahead, trying to use smokes, try and get to that plane that's in the center.
Yeah, that's the big issue right now, is they can't get any forward position. Ewing does go down and likely out here. They're not going to be able to get a res. Fuzzface might be forced to med here. As I say that, the play zone takes him down. So that will be FaZe going out in 4th place. So Penta will secure 3rd, unless a miracle can happen for Ultra. But he's not far from the zone. And right now, the Knights and Rogue are chipping away at each other. The Knights on top of this plane, taking as much of the site away from Rogue as possible, forcing them to stay low. Low on the fence, but low in the zone is Rogue. So now it's going to be up to the Knights to push away from cover. And this is where Rogue wants them. They're going to want to pop up here and try and do some damage. As we see Ultra trying to get into the zone, crawling his way. We see Rogue now taking one down off and trading. Survivor taking one down from Yannick. So now it's a 1-to-1 fight. We'll see if Rogue or the Knights can take this game away. Jazz in the zone, actually taking lots of damage. He will go down. So all of a sudden, things have turned for Rogue, and it's the Knights actually now looking like they have this game in control. But 1 man down, 2 man up. The res coming. Ultra chilling at the edge of the zone, wondering, what did I have for breakfast this morning and what's for lunch?
Okay, so, yeah, you joke about it, but Ultra actually has a clear shot right now just because of how damaged both Knights and Rogue are, and they're so focused on each other. If they don't spot him, he could actually get a clean second, depending on how much damage the remaining team has. Could even get a first, able to wait it out. Fuffins peeks up, tries to get some shots onto Drayden, but, oh, that fence blocks just enough bullets. Can't get a full revive on a Y and CK either, is too afraid of nades at this point, I think, or perhaps of an angle by Survivor. I think actually it was a revive. Yeah, there was a revive on the Knights as well, so it is still 3 strong.
They do have the ability and cover to get this res off, and now it's up to Survivor. Does he want to press this? Drayden actually finishes Yannick, or knocks him after that res, so he does knock him again, so Yannick is basically out. So the Knights do have the advantage here. Fuffin's taking some damage, but actually trades with Krama. Krama going down. Drayden has the angle, still 2v1. Now it's up to Ultra. Like you mentioned, Cam, he has the ability here to pop up and do some damage, but he's going to run right into Drayden. Drayden spots him. Ultra, unfortunately, unable to react, and it is going to be the Pittsburgh Knights taking game number 2 here. Penta sneaking in and taking 2nd place away from Rogue. A lucky break there in the end game, as Rogue unfortunately takes a tough 3rd place. It's FaZe taking 4th. They actually only played with 3 that game. Jempty, one of their strongest players, not in the game. And TSM sneaks in to take number 5. Cam,